Okay, with the Tom Pratt, One Mad Apple is the screenplay, but it's based on his novel. He's a winning screenplay writer from our festival. We just did a Zoom reading of the full script last week. Really, this is like I was actually talking to the partner in the Wild Sound, and I said this is what we've done like lots of Zoom readings. I said this one is the tightest one. I'm not just saying it; it's the tightest script that we've done. I thought it was ready. If it was like it was ready for production. I thought that's how solid the script was. So I was very excited about that reading last week. So hope you enjoyed it yourself.
Oh, it was phenomenal. I mean, the actors connected. I mean, it was just amazing to hear what everybody had to say after the reading. But like going back to like they got it, and because it's like you said, it's real. It happened to me, and it was so amazing, so amazing.
So give people, okay, it's based on your novel, so give people a pitch. What's the script about? What's the movie about?
So the movie is about my life in a very, small town and being on the school board during the height of, COVID and everything that was going on in this particular period. But how I had to rein in a school board member that was, in essence, really unhinged and didn't really, understand what was happening to her. And I was wanted to take care of her, protect her, get her the help that she needed, but she didn't want that. And it basically escalated from there.
And so you wrote the book first, right?
Yes,
And now it's on Amazon. People can one Mad Apple. I said bad
yes,
apple in a pun. We had to start over again.
yes,
And one Mad Apple, so people can Google it. It's on Amazon. We could put a link on the podcast. So, what kind of motivated you? Because I know you had someone help you write the script. What
yes.
motivated you to write the script to turn into a screenplay?
Uh, because when I was, and I think I shared with a lot of the actors when they, after the reading, Matt, that was basically that it was, I had to write this because I myself felt that I was going crazy because this whole story, and then I would tell it to people, or I would ask, different elected officials going all the way top up of, the governor, to everybody in California that um, I thought I was going crazy. And so I wrote the book basically as a cathartic, aspect to get it so that I could, say, yes, this is what it is. And so then I was like, as I read the script and then the style that I wrote the book was very cinematic. And so I took classes when I wrote it that, like write your book like it's a screenplay or like it's a movie. And so in the book, I chose different song titles for each chapter and then asked the reader to follow a multi-sensory experience to request the particular songs and then read the chapter. And so with that, it was like, my gosh, this is like a packaged movie. There's the song track, I'm sorry, the soundtrack, and then there's everything else. And so I worked with a writer and that wrote a lot of screenplays, very successful screenplays.
Yeah,
And she and I did this, and then bam, it's done really well.
yeah. I believe it. I believe it's some real. So, where did you meet the your co-writer? Where did you meet them?
So there's a company, it's called Stage 32,
Yep.
which is a venue for writers.
Yeah.
And the uh, the gentleman, Jason Murch, that was the uh, basically the one that kind of ran this, and he was just like, this is like amazing, and I just I want to connect you with Laurie Ashburn, who is an amazing writer, and then Laurie and I worked together, and then we just wrote this script that has done phenomenal with all the film festivals.
So how did you guys get together in person? Did you guys do it on Zoom? Like how did you guys collaborate?
Uh, Height of COVID.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
So everything was via Zoom or,
Yeah.
on the phone. And, then we talked and then I would share with her because, um, I had notes up to here,
Yeah.
of everything. And also too, is that everything that I've, it's because it's a true life story. It's about my time being on the school board. And so a lot of these stories, because there were newspaper, accounts of what happened. There were, TV news like Channel 7 or ABC came up. And so it was like all these things are on the internet. And so I could tell her, it's like, okay, check this out, check this out.
Oh,
Here's
wow.
all. She's like, okay, you're not jerking me around.
So the interesting thing about your script, like there's a lot of interesting things about your script, but like it's the psychology of in the subtext of the writing and the characters, meaning that you're the character based on you, the main character. It's something interesting about when you're around unhinged people, let's call them unhinged people. And I have personal experience with this where like you become a little bit unhinged yourself. It's almost like we're all kind of affected by our influences, and it's like it's almost like you go down, like it's the Michelle Obama thing where like if they go low, you go high, but you don't do that. You end up going low. If someone goes low, you end up going low as well. And I saw that in your characters trying to kind of like stay balanced, but it's difficult when he's like this is his main influence in his life, right? Where she's crazy, like sorry, I said the word, and you're trying not to be crazy. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's true. I tried to take the higher road
Yeah.
and I tried to be the dignified,
But that's yeah, it's hard.
president of the school board
Yeah.
and trying to, care for my community
Yeah.
because, there's, and like, as you saw in the script, there's a lot of rumors and, I was concerned about the safety of, the staff, the kids, especially, and, everybody else in the community. And then what came of all this is that the community members would always call me if there was a situation with the antagonist. And so I'd have to go drop whatever I was doing to go like talk that person off the ledge or like what's happening or call the sheriff. And it was just a very unsettling time, but it became like my mission to protect my community.
Gotcha. While you're trying to stay sane at the same time, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's
And then
sort of what's happening with your character. It's like you're kind of like, and you're not a, we're all human, right? We all like, and there's kind of moments where like you're not perfect. You make errors in judgment because you're human, right?
exactly. Exactly. And yes, there were, many, many times where I made a mistake, but I was just trying to do the right thing. I remember one time where I got a call that she was like traveling to another city and in her gremlin and I was trying to like oh my gosh so I go so I followed her and then I followed her back to where she lived and she just came out and tore me a new one and I was trying to be calm and it's like you know what you just hit 5 cars and you ran away
Yeah.
and CHP came up to me and I just said, look, all I'm doing trying to do is to get her to turn herself in so that there could be a felony conviction so that we can get her off of
Yeah.
the elected position that she was in.
Yeah.
The CHP officer told me you just poked the belly of the beast.
Because if it was this is a civil servant job, right? So if it's a corp
School
capitalistic,
board. It's school board.
yeah, if it's what I'm saying, it's like if it's a
Yeah,
capitalistic job, you're fired.
yeah,
It's fired.
yeah. It's we volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you can't, it's hard to get rid of somebody in that kind of position, I guess, right?
Well, it is, but the fact is that for in California, is that any elected official is that if they have a felony,
Yeah.
that removes them.
Yeah.
And
Except if you're
so,
president, but yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, well, and 24
Sorry, I'm
felony.
a Canadian. I just had to take that. I just had to put that shot in. Go ahead.
I know. But the fact is that, and that was like my goal was to find, something that because I would get calls all the time. There's this sighting, that sighting. You need to go, protect the community. Okay, great. I'll do it. But I could never get a felony because it was always under that $900 threshold that we have in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, then I went and I met with many elected officials in California. And I think they all thought I was crazy.
They thought, do you want to? You don't have to do it, but you shared a story about a certain elected official that you met who's kind of high in the ranks. But you don't have to say it. You don't have to if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to talk about it. But
No, no, and I appreciate it. I mean, I'm just going to say that it was a
yeah.
very high position in California that I met with. And then that person, he told me to send him all the information that I have and all the documentation, and then he would take care of it.
Yeah.
So I did. I sent it to him, an email, as well as I copied all of the. There's the school board I work for. We had an inspection, or not an inspection, but basically investigation from a hired private investigator on this particular individual, as well as all the documentation that I built, and then all the arrest records, all the newspaper articles, sent it to him and his staff. And this was prior, and I'll say, before he ran for governor. So,
Mm. Okay.
and I never got a response.
Yeah. Okay.
I followed up, I followed up, I followed up.
Yeah.
Nothing. Crickets.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, but you're like you just like they it's an unfortunate thing. You're trying to do everything, and then I don't know if you want to give away the ending, but I guess nature took its course, I guess, right?
Yeah, it did. And I have to say, unfortunately, I mean, but it's the in the script, it's I'll leave that to all the folks that are watching this.
Yeah.
That the book is a little bit different
Sure.
than the script. You know, but you just have to kind of like look at it and realize that things can go bad with regular folks. And it's, I don't want to give away the ending.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so then you basically wrote the book, and then you changed you got help, you kind of co-wrote the screenplay with someone during COVID, which is a very common thing that happened during COVID because people had time on their hands and they got creative. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you.
And then so you got this. So then you started submitting the festivals. You just started submitting the festivals just try to get like an unbiased reaction. See what the reaction was going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and then when we won the Thriller Suspense Festival, I was like, wow, I really have something here. I've never written anything before in my past. And I'll have to share with you too, is that when I went to college, I was in the bonehead English class because I couldn't write. And
Okay.
so
Is
here
that
I
what they
am. I
call it?
wrote
That was the official term, the bonehead English
Yeah, it was
class?
bonehead English. It's like I,
Okay.
like I had to take before I graduated from college, I had to take the an exam that was like five. I had to write the standard 5 paragraph essay.
Yeah.
I had to do it like 3 times because I couldn't write. And then here I wrote a book and a screenplay, and it's like, wow, okay, I can do this, and I can express myself and tell a story. And that's what I really want your viewers to take away with is that, you know what? We're all storytellers. We all have amazing stories that we can share and that are amazing, absolutely amazing.
So tell the what's the origin story? Because this experience happened to you. You had a little distance, and then what? Like you said, you had like a little bit of insecurity in terms of writing from your past. Like what kind of motivated you to sit down? I'm assuming like on a computer and kind of write the story. Like how did that inspiration happen?
Sure. So what happened was that as I was telling people about the story and about how I was on this crusade to get this person removed from the
Mhm.
school board, and that uh, as I told this, and like I said, like people kind of looked at me like, and then I kept thinking to myself, "Am I crazy?" And so then I rolled myself into a writer's workshop conference. I was on a plane from New York to Sacramento, and for 5 hours on a yellow pad of paper, I hand wrote the outline of my story. And then from there, it was refined over time to become the book and then the screenplay.
So there must have been some conflicts along the way, some like like it couldn't have been that easy, I guess. Like basically,
No, no, it wasn't. I had a lot of pushback from my immediate family.
yeah,
I had a lot of pushback from, the community. And
they didn't
then,
want to write. They didn't want you to write the story.
yeah, because I was basically exposing, the underbelly of the community.
Yeah, but yeah, but I think people already know that school boards are pretty are somewhat dysfunctional. I don't think that's a secret, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, that because, prior to this, I served on a school board in a big city,
Yeah,
and yeah, there was some dysfunction, but God, it was fun. You know, being elected president of this little small community
yeah,
and on the school board, and then with this, being thrown into the situation that it was
yeah.
with someone that was, mentally ill and needed help and didn't want my help or the community's help.
So let me ask you a hypothetical because you got me like because you worked on in the big city and you worked in the small town. Would this person even be like if she was in a big city, like would this still happen in a big city?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all, because there would be the communication, there would be, different articles, there'd be things like that. And then as in the script and in the book too, is that it was upon me to go to social media and to the local newspapers to let them know that this person was, you know, running for reelection.
Yeah.
It was it was yeah, it was not a fun time. I mean, there was, a lot of threats on my life by her, and it was, so
So you're saying that in the big city, this like if there's more movement, I guess. Like it just
but there's more movement and there's more trying to think of it, lack of a better word, sophistication,
okay.
because there's the different means of communication.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't have happened.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is because I'm assuming it's a bit of a culture shock for you moving from the big city to the small town.
Oh, man, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable,
Yeah.
because I moved from Santa Monica in towards LA, and then I
Yeah.
moved to San Francisco, and then I moved up to that particular community to take care of my mom who was dying from cancer
Yeah.
and help my dad. And so it was, and then I was going to move back to the big city after my mom passed, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Because you fell in love, I guess, right?
And so yeah, and so then that's where I met my second wife, and
Yeah.
then yeah.
So that's a story in itself, right? That's an interesting story in itself, right? Like where you do a noble thing, you go take care of your dad and your mom's sick and then all this stuff happens because you're doing a noble thing, right? So and then you get caught in
Exactly.
this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, it was a noble thing. And then, you know, So it's just like, hey, life happens. And then because everybody heard that I served on a school board in Santa
Yeah.
Monica, they want me to run against this person because they didn't want her to win.
Yeah.
And, and then as, the script, as you hear that it's the first time around, it didn't work. Second time, I won. So
Yeah. It's like a time you won. So it's like, yeah, and it's like yeah, it's a good, that's what happens in good storytelling, right? You don't win, and then you kind of you get you pick up, you learn from the past experiences, and you pick up pick yourself up, and you go for it again, right? So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, and you have to have that, determination, and because I just couldn't see that this person, and I'm not going to give away the whole
Yeah.
subtext and everything else of the story, but it was just it was in me because I did not want to see anybody get hurt because of this person that was elected in on the school board.
So, and you wrote in the end of you have kind of like a footnote in the end of the script, and you said that people like this is not like a governorship or presidential election. Like, what is it? 5, 10% of the people of the population votes on these elections?
Exactly. It's all the whole down ballot
Yeah.
situation. And so it's like, like in school board and nobody pays attention.
Yeah.
And even though it's like I did, I paid for the extra money to let people know who I was, what I stood for.
Yeah.
Most people just look like, oh, okay. And this person just put retired teacher. Retired teacher, school board. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, and I think that's, people have to pay attention to these, these elections that are on the bottom down.
Yeah. Well, we showed a great documentary a couple years, maybe like a year and a bit ago, about like how it's a very, obvious statement, but local politics is so important. Like it's like that's where really that's how really governing works, right? It starts there. And then it's like, but it's not sexy, right? It's not grand. You can't, the news outlets can't make money covering this, so they don't. Right? So, but that's where real politics, that's where real governing happens, right? So,
Oh, it is.
yeah,
Yeah. Everything happens on the local level.
yeah, it all does, yeah. And
And
it's
so
not
it's,
about left or right either. It's like
no,
nobody knows if
exactly.
you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're running for these elections. They want you to do a good job if they know who you are, right? So, yeah,
Exactly. And then like that, and the school board or even like county supervisor or mayor and things like that,
yeah,
it's nonpartisan.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
there's nothing to do with like Republican or Democrat,
yeah.
but lately it has become that.
Yeah, because
It's
they want to know what your stand is, especially with like LGBTQ plus trans, all that stuff, right? Especially you work in schools, they want to know what your point of view is on that, right?
and
Books in
abortion.
school.
Abortion was another big issue, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but it has nothing to do with school board.
No, so I'm
That's
saying that I can see I can argue that maybe like books in school and what they're studying in the library and trans people going in different washrooms. I can see that that's something you could talk about with the school person who runs the school board, right? But abortion is like come on, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, and this was a district that was just for junior high and
Yeah,
elementary school.
yeah,
But I didn't get to share with, when we did the reading, is that there was a request by a person that spoke in front of the school board and a public community meeting to ban my book
yeah.
and to basically have me removed from the school board.
Oh, so it became okay, gotcha.
Oh, it became a huge issue, man.
Is this the sequel?
Well, that's that, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like I'm formulating all that to be the sequel.
Yeah. Because yeah, that's what's happening though, right? Like it's like everybody wants to know everybody's point of view, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was like, like basically discussions of like, like when I was going to have a book signing, it became such a hot topic and that people would put, death threats
yeah,
on social media for me. And I mean, it was like, so we banned, we stopped the book signing. It was terrible, terrible time.
but it's an interesting thing that you bring up because it's an interesting time that we live in where like 30 years ago when I was going to school, I didn't know what the teacher's beliefs were. They were just the teacher for 6 hours for me and then they went home. I didn't know if they had kids. I didn't know anything, right? But now you can like look up these teachers, look up you online, and basically you could find out who you are, what you believes in, what your like ideologies are, what your religion is, right? So it's like I don't know, I don't think that's a good thing, but it's like, but this is the time that we live in now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's a good time because,
Yeah.
a lot of times we can separate, what our beliefs are and what's best for, like, when I was on the school board, what's best for the
In
kids?
the moment,
What's
yeah.
best? Yeah, what's best for the staff,
Yeah.
and that's what's most important. But a lot of the folks don't believe that anymore.
Yeah.
It's all based on their own ideology and what they believe and what they're being spoon-fed on their beliefs, and
Yeah.
it's not right. Totally not right.
That's you got some juicy stuff for your sequel. That's an interesting, those are interesting topics, right? Like, because there's no good answer, really, right? There's no like it's all matters of gray. Because you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's yeah. Because you don't know how do you solve that? You can't really solve it now.
Yeah, and like, because history repeats itself.
Yeah.
Because in my sequel, my great great uncle was a congressman in California
Okay.
who basically was the chair of the committee that basically the Japanese folks that were sent to the concentration
Yeah, yeah.
camps.
World War II, yeah.
Exactly. He voted no.
Okay.
John Toland. And he basically, it was horrible because of that. He was discriminated against. He was, basically like I was when I was during on the school board during COVID, which is book two. And so it was like the what I experienced and from all these folks, and that he did not run. His granddaughter was kidnapped,
Oh, really?
and because of that, he took that so personally because it was like he felt it was his fault, and
Yeah.
that he, and they were at the family cabin that I used to go to as a kid. He died from a heart attack because he felt so responsible for that. And then 2 days later, after he died, his granddaughter was returned, which is like, I don't know, like my great great aunt or something. I
Yeah,
didn't,
I was gonna say because she's related to you too, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. And so book two is basically taking the discrimination and all the public outcry that he received,
yeah.
and then, like me, all the public outcry, the death threats, everything during COVID, being on the school board, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He voted his conscience, I voted my conscience, and I got basically tar and feathered and sent out and kicked out of the community.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
so that's why I moved and left because of what I experienced. People following me home, people screaming at me in the grocery store with my kids.
What do you mean you moved left?
I know I said I moved out.
Oh,
No, I've always been left.
okay. No, I think you said I thought that was a Freudian slip. And we can record back, but it's like, but basically, yeah, that's interesting. But because obviously it's better because he was on the right. You're he was on the right side of history, right? Like
Yeah,
it's historically
but
speaking, he
but that's never recorded in history that he voted,
yeah,
to basically not send
yeah. That's
these
what I
folks.
mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he did the right thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's good, you
As
know what
a
I mean? Yeah, it's good that he was on the right. I'm saying that he did the right thing, right? So yeah.
And then what he did too, which is very fascinating, is that he hired Ansel Adams, Dorothea Lange, all these other famous photographers to go document all the camps to make sure that everything was okay. And then all those photographs are in a library at UC Berkeley. He has a library because of all the photographs that he did to make sure that all these people were well taken care of.
Wow. All right. Well, let's we're gonna quick segue and to finish this off, we'll have a little fun because we're getting a little serious here. But you in the blog interview, you mentioned that we asked you everybody a question, what movie have they seen the most times in their life? Do you remember what you said?
Oh yeah, Caddyshack.
Caddyshack. So I haven't heard this answer. ever, right? And we've been doing this for a long time.
Really?
It's the
You're kidding.
second time this month. I'm talking to somebody that Caddyshack is the movie that it's like it's amazing, right? So like how that happens, but yeah. So basically Caddyshack. So I read. Did you read the book, the history of Caddyshack?
No, no, I haven't.
Caddyshack, fantastic book.
Really?
Fantastic.
What's the title?
I gotta check it, but basically when I
Okay,
while we're talking.
just yeah, yeah, just send it to me via email or whatever.
Yeah, but basically, I'll try to find it while we're talking. But so when did you like, do you remember when you first watched it? Did you watch it in the theater when
Yeah,
you're, yeah,
yeah,
yeah?
when it first came out, and then it's like my brother and I just we love all the Caddyshack, the Blues Brothers, Animal House,
Yeah.
and all those, we just watch those over and over, and like Caddyshack, every time I watch it, just makes me laugh.
So it's Caddyshack, the making of a Hollywood Cinderella story. Um,
Okay. Oh, I remember that Cinderella story.
Yeah, it's Caddyshack, the making of a Hollywood Cinderella story. So you can buy it like on Audible, but it's a great Audible book too, right? Because they get into it. It's funny, but it just sort of it talks to you about like how it's good for a screenwriter because it tells you like they changed the story, right? And there was a script that they shot, and then in editing they completely changed the whole story because it didn't
Really,
work.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd love to read that.
Yeah, and because it didn't work, and they had Harold Ramis directed it, right? So
Uh-huh.
like, and they basically kind of reworked, they kind of rewrote the screenplay in the editing room, right? So because there's lots of jokes and lots of like, because they the caddy guy was the he was the main character. He's like in every scene, and then they kind of
Sure.
like brought in the supporting guys and kind of made it more funny and more
Oh
like,
yeah, God, I like yeah with Bill Murray and then Ted Knight, I thought was
yeah,
fantastic.
Rodney Dangerfield with his one line.
Yeah, and Roddy, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great book, but it's a great movie. I remember seeing that when I was like 6, 7 years old, when they had the first VCR. It was like 200 pounds.
Uh-huh.
And my uncle had one and he brought it. And I just remember like these adults just giggling for like 2 hours, and it kind of piqued me, like where it's piqued my interest. It's like they're these like this is like in a living room, right? I never seen it before. No commercials, right? This is like a
Uh-huh.
whole new experience. The people who are younger don't know what we're talking about, but the beginning of the VCR, it was like a whole new
Yeah.
experience. And like they were just transfixed for 2 hours, and then they were just laughing. And I thought this is amazing, and it was kind of got me intrigued about movies. So then I watched it myself, and I didn't get all the jokes when you're 6, 7 years old, but you got the poop one, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, or the duck.
and the gopher, right? The cute little
Yeah.
gopher, right? So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Excuse me, don't gophers?
So yeah, that's so cool. Do you know remember the last time you watched it?
I'm gonna say probably about 3 or 4 months ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's like whenever like like if there's something, like something bad when at work or whatever, I'll put that on, I'll just laugh hysterically. So it's a funny movie.
Yeah, it's a beginning of like you said with the National Lampoon movies, right? With like Animal House and the Blues Brothers, and then Caddyshack, Harold Ramis, who
And Ghostbusters. I
he
mean,
ended up
all
writing Ghostbusters, right? And then what's the Stripes? They did Bill Murray and him did
stripes.
Stripes a
Yeah.
couple years later, right? And then yeah, and then they made him and Bill Murray made probably my favorite. I think is the best comedy of all time is oh my God, I should know what it is. Is Groundhog Day, right? So yeah,
Oh
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
yes.
They
Yeah.
did Groundhog Day together. Yeah. So basically,
Or
yeah,
even Scrooge. Scrooge, was a little dark, but it was like
yeah,
that was good too.
yeah.
So
It could have been great. Yeah, but yeah, I should watch
yeah.
that again. Yeah. So yeah, all right, man. Well, you are working on the sequel.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, I
Yeah.
wish you the best of luck. I'm glad you had a good time with the reading, the Zoom reading we did last week. And let's
That was
touch base.
awesome. That was awesome, man. That
That's
was
pretty
like
good.
incredible.
Let's touch base when you got your script all ready to
Uh,
go.
my goal is to win an Oscar.
Okay.
So I will thank you when I win the Oscar.
All right, cool. All right, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thank you,
Have a
man.
good one.
Okay.